And we're live.
We're live. Okay.
Hi there. Welcome to Left Unsupervised, which is Misbehaving. I really almost said, what in the mystical hell podcast?
I mean, I am a lot of your source material, so not wrong.
Yeah. But no, this is Left Unsupervised, which is Misbehaving, our autumn equinox edition. I'm Nikki Jobin of Golden Apple Metaphysical, and this is my lovely business partner.
I'm Diana Rachel. I'm author of Hex Twisting and Urban Magic, and I am both adored and piss people off sometimes in the same moment. So hi.
Yay. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure that everything is showing up as public, which it is doing. Let's see if the
good. Okay. And so Nikki and I have had a lot of life stuff, like non-consensual life, because living is not consensual, fuckers. So showing up for this has been kind of a challenge. And we know we've had the running joke that like my autobiography is going to read, well, that was flammable. And Nikki's was, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, although if you're listening to What in the Mystical Hell podcast, it might seem more like a chapter for a much broader story.
It might be. I'm definitely going through. It's been interesting for me through the terms of the podcast. I will go into it a little bit more later when we're talking about it specifically, but it's been interesting to look at my life journey on this path. Like that, to have that little bit of reflection, because we all know I don't really reflect on things once I've done them.
Yeah, we know. I am thinking, I have a proposal for an altogether title for you. Uh-oh. And that is, there's no statute of limitations for that.
Maybe we'll make that the book series name, and then I'll just have little spin-offs.
And you can do one like there's no extradition in Venezuela, and there's and just these lists.
Not really that bad. Lawful evil, remember?
You're lawful evil. I guess we're saying I'm chaotic good, but I think a lot more people would go to neutral these days.
I was going to say chaotic neutral is where my brain goes. Now, maybe you used to be chaotic good, but now it's a little bit more neutral.
Yeah, I had to evil up because some people are just crabs in buckets, and I just did not find the base seasoning until a few years ago.
Hey, so I'm appreciating every second of it.
Yeah. Well, of course, you like to see a little corruption in a good soul.
Just a little.
I mean, when I split up with my ex and I had to get my own car that was no longer like a 1950s looking Nissan Leaf, Nikki was hoping I would get a black Kia Soul so she could finally say I had a black soul.
I really did. I'm still hoping for that.
Well, the only reason I wanted a Kia, and then I saw like what the average repair cost was, and I am boring that way.
Okay. So, I got an Escape, which is what I'm always trying to do.
We know. Cindy has one too, and I mean, they refer to themselves as the Vagabond. So there's definitely like an escape theme there with the people closest to me. I don't know if it's a see me coming and run, or it's the you're riding a goose. Don't ask any questions. Just come along now. But yeah.
Or it's mainly like we've set it on fire. We should run.
Yeah. Although some days if you look like you're knowing what you're doing, you can get away with setting things on fire because someone will think that there's a reason for it. And they won't realize it was just for fun as you're calmly walking away until you've turned the corner.
Okay, the fun things are one thing, but do we remember when we almost accidentally set your garage on fire?
Was that you or me that time? And you were the deck. The garage was a specific incident where that was kind of supposed to happen, but that was pretty bad.
We did still have the table on that.
Yeah, I still have the table with the burn marks. I don't use it at shows. I just bought a new table.
Keeping it for memory's sake.
Yeah. Well, I swear that my ex-boyfriend was just trying to get me killed that day anyway. So probably
we lived. What's that?
We lived, and
he's like, "Did you die?" Yes, but I lived.
And
All
he'll
right,
be
I'm looking
alive.
at a
He'll
little
not be.
list of what we're talking today. Okay, we're playing the catch-up game.
Yes.
So, what's going on in Michigan?
Over here in Kalamazoo. And yes, there really is a Kalamazoo, especially for those of you that remember Captain Kangaroo. I just opened up my yoga business finally. So I've been meeting in public parks. I have a 4 p.m. on Wednesdays kindness yoga, which is a mix of chair yoga and very gentle yoga where you move through the poses slowly. And we go over the basics at Arts and Craft in Hartford. So that's like the witchy shop in West Michigan. So any esoteria you want, they've got it there.
I know I'm really sad I wasn't able to go there the last time I was out there.
Yeah, it's kind of, you would like it. I'm teaching yoga while pictures of Aleister Crowley and Baphomet just kind of stare at me disapprovingly. Although I'm pretty sure that Baphomet would be like, I bet you I could do that. That would be useful in this activity. So, or useful if I, the next time I'm around someone who's borrowing a human body, let's see what they can do.
Oh, great. I just have visions of my head of Gumby.
Yeah, not quite. I'm pretty sure that they're starting to pay attention to who has hypermobility. It's because I seem to have an unusually large proportion of friends that are neurodivergent and have EDS or some form of hypermobility where they basically could twist their heads around.
See, I think it would be funny to be able to do that, but let's be honest. I can bend and gravity helps me get down. It's the getting back up these days that's a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, yeah. I know that feel. And one of the best things you can do for an aging body is just get down the floor and get up, because that can be a workout all by itself. It really can.
It is.
So, yeah.
And good
So
I have
for the other
children to pick things up.
There is that too. Yes. I would not do the bend and snap. The wrong thing would snap these days. And people tend to fear me instead of asking me out for dates, unless they're into something very specific. So I just don't even try for that anymore. The other things going on is I've gotten past the 50,000 word mark on the Urban Magician's Handbook. It is part of a series that I am writing it all together and editing it, running it past some friends for beta reading. And then I'm going to take it to a publisher. So it is all there all together, because I now live in an ADHD house. And before that, I was living in a different kind of neurodivergent house and didn't even know it. And so getting things done on any kind of time frame, like setting a deadline, is enough to curse the deadline. Mm. So it's just getting the thing done every day as I can. And also just working on this old house. We have a new housemate who is also occult inclined, and finding the energy someday to gather all of the herbs before fall remembers it's supposed to be fall out here. Because that is
your 7 months of snow.
Michigan is more like 4 months, but yeah, Minnesota was 7 months of snow a lot of the time.
That's still a lot of snow.
To you, any snow is a lot of snow because of what you've experienced.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, and lake effect snow does make bigger piles here. So, but that does mean, more cozy days where nobody has to go anywhere because you can't drive anyway.
Fair enough.
So how are you? What's going on with you?
Well, I'm working on a couple things. So I've posted, as people have probably seen, I've posted a couple of videos on some, it's a back to school series. So I have posted the little mini spell jars. I just had one like a minute ago.
And these are ones for helping kids at school. So these are like pagan parenting spells.
Kind of, but honestly, you could use them for anybody, because the concepts are just really, they transcend just school, right?
Right.
This one that I made is a confidence jar. Let's see if I can find that. There's the camera. It's very small. It can fit in your backpack, it can fit in your purse, it can fit in your pocket. But they're DIYs, so I'm showing people how to make them. They're available through the website, but we have the knowledge. And yeah, while I'd like to make a buck, of course, like not everybody's gonna be able to spend whatever I decide we're going to charge for it. And this way, if they have the stuff at home, why not make it? If you can.
And this is something I've been thinking about and talking about more, is like one of the ways we connect and the way we work, even though we have very opposite worldviews sometimes, is in our heart of hearts, Nikki and I are both kitchen witches.
Yeah.
Like we both are everything. Like I think most of our friendship has been centered in one or the other's kitchen and working on something.
It really has.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes there's the going outside and finding some random art or doing the city work, which, I mean, that just satisfied our inner teenager want to sneak out at night. But a lot of it is, what do I have on hand? What does my family need? What keeps things as stable as they can be, given just everything that comes at us sometimes?
Yeah.
And so I am loving this is the little jar. This is the thing that we have on hand, and just getting into that way of thinking again.
Yeah. And realizing that sometimes, even when you have everything laid out, you know, oh my God. Sorry.
What's wrong?
I have my pest control guy is here, and he just walked on the deck and scared the bejesus out of me.
Oof. Okay. But you're okay.
Yeah. No. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Like he's not reading from a Bible and spraying holy water out of that thing, right?
I hope not, because that won't keep the spiders away.
No, nothing keeps the spiders away. Only treaties keep the spiders away. And I actually had to have a little talk with one for not building a web for me to walk through every day last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
This company actually has done really well. I knock on all kinds of wood. Where do I have another? That's one right there. I have not had an army of ants invading my house, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, sage him to be sure from Lee Toller. Okay.
Where is he, sage him to be sure? Thanks, babe. Thanks. There's actually another guy who's getting rid of all the cobwebs. Makes me happy. But back to where I was going. I've done videos for anxiety, helping with anxiety and confidence. The last two that I want to do are anti-bullying.
That's a good one.
That's a big thing. And academic success, even if it's just enough to take the pressure off. So that way, you know, your kids feel good about going in and learning. And that's really important to me, because while we did deal with bullying with Chris, you know, he's in a great environment where that doesn't happen anymore. But Liz has been dealing with it for the most random of things, because she's a redhead.
Oh, are they doing that stupid like ginger no soul thing? Or
no, she'd really lean into that. She'd be like, I have a soul. Look, there's a freckle right here. You
or
know,
I have a soul. Look, it's yours.
Right. But she, you know, I'm sorry. Mom has to stop. Rewind. I don't know if she's come out publicly, but they.
Okay.
So that's a really big thing that I'm trying to make sure I'm really cognizant of that now.
Okay. Well, you know that you can get good support from Cynthia and I on that.
Absolutely. And Liz is okay if we refer to them as daughter or as she, though.
Okay.
Their preference is they.
Okay. So it's sort of like me with she, they, except that I just truly don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's dealing with that sense of identity and self coming from like our background, because my family is mostly Latin, right? And here is I'm dark. Christopher's kind of dark. Everyone else gonna be dark. Though she dyes her hair blonde, so she's not. You know, she's
right.
She's a basic witch now.
Does she have her pumpkin spice yet?
We went and got. Actually, she's a matcha girl.
Oh wow, that's the new basic. That's the new basic.
Okay, but you know, Liz is coming to terms with the fact that she really identifies with Latin or the Latin culture, but when they express at school that they're Latin, they get told, you're not Latin, you're white. Look at you.
Oh no, that crap.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Liz really does look like she got dropped off the boat. I mean, like they got dropped off the boat from Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, we've got red hair, we've got green eyes, we've got porcelain skin. So it's you know, definitely coming into and dealing with that. So I did at the beginning of the school year make Liz an anxiety spell jar, and that's what actually got me started making these jars. And as a parent, as you've been learning these past few years, living out there, that as a parent, that the way that we dealt with stuff when we were kids is very, very, very different than how they're dealing with things now. Like, I mean, when we were kids, we just punch a guy in the face, right? You can't do that now.
When I punched a guy in the face, I got suspended because girls were not supposed to fight back.
Oh, see, when I punched a guy in the face, my uncles went up to me and was like, "Did he stay down? Did you stop when he was down?"
Well, remember, I was raised in Northwest Indiana. I was supposed to be broken enough to actually marry one of the dips out there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't supposed to fight back. I wasn't supposed to have enough of a sense of self to say, keep your hands off my boobs.
Yeah. Well, years ago, we got rid of the garbage of, oh, they're being mean to you, they must like you.
We replaced that. Oh my God.
We replaced that with, yeah, maybe they do like you, but it's still not okay for them to do these things to you.
They may like me, but they don't have my consent.
Yeah, and they're not respected. They're still not respecting you when they treat you badly.
Yeah, so when they do that, it often seems more like it's not that they like you, they like whatever fantasy they're having about you, and you're not actually there.
Yeah, and it's so funny because as a society, we told our female children, I don't know if they told the boys this too, but they told female children, hey, oh, they must like you. They must like you. Oh, they just like you. They're pulling your hair. They must like you. And then we don't understand why women get into toxic, abusive relationships.
We are catching up on a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that we're only starting to recognize as, hey, that's unhealthy.
Yeah. So as someone that is very, very much Gen X, and, I'm like, you talk shit, you get hit kind of mentality. Like, I was really at a loss for how can I help my child? I can tell them till I'm blue in the face, hey, this person, I'm sorry that they're not treating you well. They obviously have trauma that they're dealing with that makes them act out in this way. That only goes so far.
Right.
So I thought, what, maybe I can help my child in a metaphysical way.
And I think that is sometimes what we have to resort to. And I know I have done it with my kids. I have 3 stepkids, and all 3 of them have needed different kinds of intervention at different times. Mm-hmm. And of course, because their dad is a shaman, they have all kinds of genetic talent that they don't always know what to do with. And for the younger 2, they're often more comfortable coming to me about it than to Cinti, because with Cinti, it's, Cinti is a recognized shaman. There's more pressure there, but they see me more as mom now, as like Dragon Cat mom. But when I first came in there, they kind of saw me as their chaotic fairy godmother.
Nice.
So, and there's still a little bit of that there, where sometimes they hope I will help them with their mischief, and I have to wait till they're 18 now, and we're all disappointed by that.
I find that I wish that my children would want to get into more mischief, but Liz does have a very, very specific morality. Because, I'm like, do you want to hex them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Liz is like, no, I don't want to do anything that would hurt another person, which definitely makes Liz a way more evolved person than I am. But I did teach them how to do a freezer spell. So we're freezing the behaviors. And then we're making these spell jars to help put those energies out there.
Good. That is awesome. And I think there's a lot of people, and again, this comes to people being raised femme and conditioned certain ways. It's always women that I have to talk to about, if you're putting down a hot foot to make someone go away, if they're making things so dangerous for you that you need to do this, then why are you worried about them getting hurt? They're already harming you.
Yeah.
What
they just set them on fire.
They're going to think you're a really good person. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, being seen as a really good person doesn't matter if you're not alive or you're hospitalized because you can't stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
They might say you're a really good person, but it's going to do fuck all when you've got a $10,000 hospital bill you can't pay.
Yeah. So I am very lucky in the fact that I know my children are unlikely to stay in relationships with people that do not treat them well.
Yes.
Because of how they were raised. But this is a situation where it's people that Liz deals with on an everyday basis and has to deal with them.
Yes.
So I thought these were ways that not only it's going to help Liz, but it's going to help me as her parent feel like I can affect something, because I am actually affecting something. And I thought there must be other parents that feel that way.
I think
Maybe they are better equipped or have better tools to do this kind of thing that are not in my toolkit.
I know we had an incident with one of our children where it wasn't just the child engaging in the bullying, but a parent, and like coming after him with a pickup truck.
Yeah, see, we know how to deal with that, but
yeah, well, it's again different culture out here, so things have to be handled very specific ways because everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
you don't know me, I'll fly out to your house for a weekend.
Yeah, again, there's no statute of limitations for that, Nikki.
It's going in the book. It's going in the book.
There we go. I mean, it can't be worse than that time that we had that ritual at my house, and the people that we wanted to come decided not to because they decided to go act inappropriately on someone else's stuff. Yeah, that whole situation.
All right, after this, you're gonna have to remind me. You're gonna have to
I'll
remind
you
me
offline. I don't want to like say the name and attract the ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Well, moving on. I just thought that series was a great way to help parents really affect what their child is dealing with at school. If they're like me and don't have the right tools, or if they're feeling a little bit helpless, which I was.
Yeah.
What else am I doing? I'm doing a podcast. It is called What in the Mystical Hell. Let me see. I have a banner for that. Wait, do I?
You should.
Nope, I sure didn't put a banner up there.
September 30th is National Podcasting Day, so you should totally do a thing then.
All right, I'm going to type it in here because I'm cool like that. I should have named it like What in the Chaotic Hell, because then it would spell out witch. As it is right now, it's WITMH. I was like, damn it, I really missed a thing there. Hindsight is 2020.
It's got the word mystical in it, so that helps.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. I spelled everything correctly. I sure did. Add banner.
I mean, if I did one that was based on my experience, it would be OMG WTFY.
Right. So What in the Mystical Hell podcast, you can find me on Spotify. And what it really is it started with me talking about my journey. Like, I've been a witch, practicing witch for over 30 years. I've had connection to these energies my entire life. And like, where did that come from? How did it start? Where did I get started with this? Because, oftentimes I meet a lot of people that are inherently magical that they say, I have no idea what I'm doing. But in reality, if you're inherently magical and inherently witchy, and it's in your DNA somewhere or the other, when we were kids, we were doing it. We were doing it before they told us that couldn't possibly be real. And so this is kind of about my journey. It's breaking down some of the quote unquote rules of witchcraft that I think are bullshit. For many, many years, I was told you have to do things this way. If you're going to do a ritual, these are the steps, and this is how it has to be. And you and I both know, I don't even think I cast a circle when I'm doing ritual.
I think I do it like twice a year at most now.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, when we've worked together, I don't think we ever bother.
No. I think we've had one or two times where we've just enhanced the wording around the house a little bit. Yeah.
Like, there are other things we do to draw protections. Obviously, we don't just like go in. We don't raw dog it most of the time.
I like that term.
But
that's great.
That's
the book, Raw Dog and the Witchcraft.
Okay, maybe that'll be one of my next blog posts. The other kind of special circle, but okay, obviously I'm not my most mature at the moment because it's late for me.
That's gotten us this far.
That is fair. And if you and I were fully mature people, I don't think that we would have nearly as much fun as we do.
Yep. Oh, we have another comment.
Oh, that's for my friend Jamie.
Yes, I can get it to show. There we go.
Yeah, it looks like she's doing a Quizmaster thing somewhere in Minnesota. Surly Furious is a specific beer to the Twin Cities. So she is in her cups and doing something geeky. So more power to you, Jamie. Miss you a lot.
Yay. So yeah, that's been a little roller coaster ride doing this podcast. Learning a lot about the process, learning that I talk way too fast, and I have to write a really long script if I am doing this myself. So I have recently gotten a co-host. If you remember Lauren from season 1, episodes 5 and 8 of Left Unsupervised, she came and co-hosted with me. I think you might have been sick one day, or you had something else that you were doing.
There is always something going on, so very probably.
So we've worked together for years, and we bounce back and forth. Like we feed off of each other really well. So we just posted a new episode, our first episode a few weeks ago, and we'll be doing another episode next week. So it's going pretty well.
And I need to catch up on those shows but you and Lauren have some good stories.
Yeah, well, it'll get better as we go through. The last thing I'm doing is I'm really trying to focus on getting content up for our Patreon. If you have not seen the Golden Apple Metaphysical Patreon,
Yep. It is.
Yeah, there it is. Yay.
And it is very Kitchen Witch friendly. And the purpose of the Patreon is eventually so Nikki and I can open a brick and mortar store in the San Francisco area.
Yeah.
Preferably in San Francisco, but the way things are going in the San Francisco area.
Yeah. Though I do see a lot of places closing.
Yeah.
There's a cute little bookstore by the bar. That would be great. I could leave the shop and walk to work at the bar. That would be perfect. But I'm trying to put new content on there. I have some things that are free, and we do have a trial where you can have a free trial of the Patreon before you subscribe. There is definitely content that is subscriber only. You get some little tidbits from the podcast. Sometimes I do little extra things. Like when I did a podcast episode about going to convocation, there was a podcast snippet of just some of my personal thoughts about convocation. Different things that I observed, different things that didn't make it into my podcast episode. So that's what I'm doing at the Patreon, and I'm trying to find. I have a couple more. I have a couple DIYs there, some actual food recipes.
There's some good stuff there.
Yeah. So it's slow going, but it's coming along.
And all of the good stuff is a slow build. That's what I've been learning. So, yeah. For my projects, I mentioned that I'm working on the Urban Magician's Handbook. I taught at North Dakota Grand Sabbath, and I think that's going to be my last big public teaching thing for a while I'm working on building my yoga business. Last fall, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about with my family. I'm very protective of them, and there was some stuff where my kids were at risk. And between that, Cindy getting sick, one of our kids graduating, a lot of emotional labor. Like I have a whole blog post about it on dianarachel.com if you really want to see the details. But around mid-June, I collapsed. And I wasn't really able to do much day to day until about the middle of August. And basically being laid out like that did force me to reflect on my life and some of the things I've been doing. And there's been a lot more saying no. I did step back from Wicked Grounds for a while. We're on good terms. It just, right now, they need to go a direction that I don't quite fit with at this time because they need people practicing kink, and that would involve me having the energy to tie a knot, and I don't have it. So there are things that I had worked on already that I am probably going to be releasing in other ways. I also took a big risk, but it was the part of what led to my collapse was I was having all of these super high needs, high risk clients in my tarot practice that were like booking me like 2 or 3 times in the same week. And first of all, when it comes to spirit work, more is not better. do the work, give it a couple weeks, and then see. Like, this was partly a lust for result problem. Some of this was people just testing to see what they could get away with. And some of this was, I think, people trying to, like, I don't know if it was getting too caught in their own stories or what the whole story was, but some stuff just didn't make sense in the long run. And while the money was okay, it was wiping me out to the point where that I wasn't able to do anything else, work on my Substack, work on my book, nothing else. Just to, like, bare enough to keep my family going, especially when other people are getting sick, including Cinti. And basically, these clients were costing me what I needed to make a living, even though I was getting paid.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
something's got to give, right?
right.
You can't constantly empty your cup, fill it with the bare minimum, empty it again, and then expect a different result.
And so I took a pretty big and scary for me step, and I raised my rates from $60 an hour to $225 an hour.
Wow.
And I reminded myself that the people that are going to be critical about this were never the ones supporting me in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people that have the most to say about it are usually not your people anyway. And my clients that have been around for a few years were like, oh, yeah, we've been hoping you would do this for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one has said boo about it. I have done a couple things. Like, I opened a Patreon that has, like, some monthly tarot packages for people that feel they truly need this and need an affordable way to do it in a way that's sustainable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have, like, I have my Substack that I want to work on. I like my Substack. I like telling my paranormal stories. Mm-hmm. I need the energy to tell them. And it does have a paid option. So this is another thing I've been building while I've been working on the books and working on the yoga and, you know, helping one feral child become a somewhat civilized human being. So these are the things I've been doing. And some of these there's been a lot of inner work going on, especially around money and independence and just a shit ton of trauma over what I've been through trying to get there. Mm-hmm. So one of the other things I did for the accessibility is because most people pay me through the Stripe payment processor, they have a Klarna and an Affirm option now. So those are switched on for people that feel they really need the consults, and then they can pay over time.
That's good.
But I've also put in some really strict rules, like no one is allowed to book me more than once in a 2-week period.
Yeah.
And no, I am not going to change my schedule to accommodate someone. There's no such thing as a tarot emergency, and there are some damn good tarot readers out there, and we can't serve everybody.
Yeah. I think what we found is a lot of times we would try to refer to quality readers, mm-hmm. and people were just really fixated on, no, I need you. Which, you know, yes, we're damn good at what we do. However, we are not the only damn good people out there.
Yeah.
You know?
And I sometimes worry, this is one of the things, because hex twisting is kind of has a cult following now. And some people have admitted that there's been some fanboying and fangirling. And the problem with this is that's not a relationship with me. That's a relationship with a version of me in your head. Mm-hmm. If you're fangirling or fanboying me, I'm going to let you down. Like, I can't avoid it because I'm not whoever is in your head. And like, I had an editor once refer to my fans, and it was like such a frightening and gutting moment for me, because I want readers, I want thinkers. I guess some people are fans, but that's just so, it's uncomfortable for me because I know who I am, and I have already seen different versions of myself in other people's heads before hex twisting came out, and now there's more, and that's yikes. So
if it makes you feel any better, I'm a fan, but I have still seen your feet of clay.
Yes, you have seen me fuck up, and you've laughed your ass off so many times.
I really have. But you know, vice versa.
Houses down. I mean,
vice versa. You've seen me in some dire straits. Like, it's 6:00 in the morning. I just got to your house from work, and I'm cranky.
Yeah.
There's not enough booze and coffee in the world to fix it. It's great.
And I had some fucking damn good booze. The coffee was kind of mid, but the booze was good.
You mix them together, it's great.
Yeah.
I think the other thing now with people, and this, I see this mentality not just with clients, but in other aspects of my life. I see it at the grocery store. I see it at the bar. I see it when people are driving. And I do think that part of it is a direct result of the pandemic that just took on a life of its own. It became its own servitor. And where we were all in the pandemic, we were all at home, we were in environments that we created that were set to our perfect needs, our specific needs, and everything was instant gratification. Like, I wanted that cup of coffee, I got that right now. It didn't matter what I was doing because I could stop whatever I was doing and get that right now. I was my own best server and customer. And then when we came back from the pandemic and we had to people again, some people didn't, I tried to have a lot of grace when we came back out into the world for people because they did just spend X amount of time where their entire worlds were set to only their needs.
Yeah.
I tried to give people a little bit of grace for that. Now I'm really over it.
Yeah, I've seen it, especially, I don't know, like, I think some of it is that nobody had to wait for anything, except maybe occasionally a DoorDash or an Instacart order.
Yeah. But even that, you pay priority and you get it faster.
Yeah. I think there's also a truth will out thing happening where, like, you and I are both poly. I've given up on dating because there's just so much mainstream shittiness now. And it's kind of a mixed bag because I think in 2019, guys would just lie to get what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And now they just expect to get what they want, even though, like, it's objectively, hey, that's another human being that you're expecting this from, and that's insane.
Yeah.
And they're going, but why? I want it. Okay. Because the people so I will see a lot of guys complaining about all the bots, and, I'm attracted to women. I occasionally look through, and it is so easy to spot all of the female bots. So these guys that keep getting caught by bots over and over, it's just that it's their ego because they're not even bothering to read the damn profiles where it would totally give itself away.
Well, at some point you have to ask yourself, where you have to say to yourself, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Thank you, Taylor Swift.
I mean, I can spot bots in threads, and they have individual writers behind each of them creating these characters.
Oh, yeah. Well, I get bots all the time. I get bots that add me all the time on TikTok, but they're adding up my numbers for followers, so I'm not complaining about it.
See, I still block them because I'd rather have authentic numbers, but that's just a quirk that I have.
I want to get to a live because then I can get real people listening to my bullshit.
That is fair.
If I could just do lives on TikTok, on Instagram and Facebook.
I think
you guys watch me, but we don't have anybody watching us now, but
we will later. I think it would be really fun to just start doing seances on live.
We could.
We could do
a seance with 2 rooms apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know Cinti doesn't have any qualms about using spirit boards, and people keep asking me. I keep waiting. I'm hoping to have time to do here's how to use a spirit board. Understand there is no way to use one completely safely. Just don't be an ass.
Well, the thing that because I've actually was talking about that today when I was writing my script for my episode that I'm going to record later tonight, was talking about if you're new at this, just don't until you got a little bit of experience out under your belt. But if you absolutely must play with that shit because whatever, then protect your space. This is the one time that I absolutely advocate you must have a sacred circle. You must have a sacred protected space to do this. It's the only time you will ever hear me say you must have this. Because, I'm like, do a circle, don't do a circle, whatever.
Yeah, we did usually cast a circle when we worked with the spirit board. Now that I think about it, it was the one time we did.
And though we are both very seasoned practitioners, there were times that even we got things that weren't who they said they were. And, you need to feel for that.
Nowadays, I'd just make a spell for it. But even then, truth is tricky.
Yeah.
Because truth can be open to interpretation. And this is the way the Fae operate, especially, is there is the literal truth. They can only tell you the truth, but they don't have to tell you all of the truth.
I mean, it can be a bare whisper of the truth, but as long as there's truth.
In there somewhere, yeah. Yeah, basically, I have to think like my 13-year-old when he really wants something he knows he's not supposed to have, and then the mentality makes sense to me.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, what's a great line? When you've done something that makes someone upset, but that you're not actually sorry for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that that's the way you took that.
Yeah.
Because I do
Yeah.
feel sorry that that's the way you took it, because now you're bitching at me.
You know, somebody's going to watch this, and that information is going to cause at least 3 breakups, which is good because that means they're getting away from some bullshit.
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm gonna turn up this light just a little bit, just a smidgy, because it is now dark here. Maybe I want to make it darker. I don't know. I don't know.
I do the thing where I pull the black curtain and like my windows on my kitchen nook are up, but I have a second nook in the house now because my kitchen can be neither heated nor cooled. It's an old house.
Yeah.
And
But it wasn't that cold when I was there, and it was February. It wasn't crazy. There was a good nip outside, but
that's normal for February in Southwest Michigan. And that's partly because of Lake Michigan and her impact.
Yeah, but it was always very comfortable.
Yes.
Um,
However, climate change, we've been getting like 95-degree weather with like 80% humidity. I just go work somewhere else in the house.
That's where I'm piecing out. Like, I can do the 95. Like, put me in 95 Vegas weather, 100, 110. I am okay because it's a dry heat. I feel like a cat in the sun. It's great, but it's that humidity that just saps.
I miss the dry heat. I miss San Francisco so much. Like, I even miss how I would get annoyed that it was still like wintry for San Francisco in March out by the ocean. I miss that.
Now, yeah.
So I love Lake Michigan. I am with you. You know, my family is wonderful, and I'm finding my way in this community. It's like I miss Minneapolis too.
Mm-hmm.
So many of my friends are still there.
Well, even though you're in a good place right now, it doesn't mean that there aren't things that you love and miss in these other places, right?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I still randomly miss Albuquerque and New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, and I have not spent nearly as much time in either of those places. Mm-hmm. But they are my kind of delightful weird.
It's what gets us to go back to these places. I think that's why they do it.
I think so, yeah. And to me, it's like, it really is visiting old friends. Like, these city spirits are very real and conversational to me. Mm-hmm. And so, like, Albuquerque, you'd say, thank you. I've been trying to get people to see me. Thank you. You know, I'm not just cowboy boots and a big hat. Like, I'm actually here.
Hey, don't knock the cowboy boots and the big hat, though.
Oh, I could see you wanting to knock some cowboy boots, but that's in your time. Look, you would have gone there if it had been you.
I would have. Believe me, I'd go there now.
If there were some around, I'm sure.
All right, what's next on our agenda? All right. What are we doing for autumn equinox, if anything?
I am taking a yin and restorative yoga training over the autumn equinox.
Nice.
So I suppose I'm probably going to go burn something outdoors at some point because that's what I do, but I am not putting a huge amount of effort into that because my effort's really going into Samhain this year.
Yeah.
So, because
we will be having another live at that time.
Yes.
Not on Samhain, but in the surrounding days.
Yeah.
Yes. I had originally planned. I was trying to plan having one of our metaphysical or our mystical salons at that time, but I just didn't have enough time to get it all together. So I have postponed that to next month. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But so we kind of do Mabon over the 21st through the 23rd. Though this year it's supposed to be the 22nd. That is the actual equal day, equal night. I'm working the 21st. I have yet to find out if I'm working the 22nd, but we'll definitely have the family feast. We've been doing our gratitude altar since the 1st of September. If you still would like to make a gratitude altar, if you find my TikTok, I do have a video up.
Oh, can we share a clip?
Yeah, that is my.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no. I wish I had. That would be smart if I'd had a clip to show of that. But I do have a video about making a gratitude altar, so you still have some time. I like to just do it at the beginning of the month because it gives you time to just build up. But I'll tell you, by the end of the month, though, you do still find things to be grateful for. Like, you really have to think, and it's a great exercise in learning about the things that you're grateful for in your life, because you can't just say the same thing every day.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
And I mean, it changes day to day, and there are days where it's just really hard to be grateful, and give yourself grace on those days, because you will be grateful for something again soon.
Mm-hmm. And even if you don't have something to specific to say, then maybe you just think over the things that you have been grateful for. And
or you say, these are a few of my favorite things to yourself.
Yeah. I was also thinking that you could just be grateful that you're standing there wondering what you're grateful for.
I used to have a bumper sticker that said every day above ground is a good day, and it upset my high school enough that the custodian took it out after one day.
I like that. Let's see. All right, paranormal talk. People are debating the veil.
Yes, there are people that think that there's no such thing as a veil, or the veil is always a year-round thing, or it doesn't really get thin because they haven't experienced it.
Because,
And it's a hot topic in some places. And I am looking at this going, my lived experience does not match your conjecture, but I can't live your lived experience. So if you are not experiencing it, I can't speak to that. But Cynthia and I both do psychopomp work. Psychopomp work is where you guide the dead to where they're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have problems in January with coming home to being surrounding our bed going, I can't be dead. I demand to talk to the manager. I shit you not, when asked to see the manager this time.
I love that.
And so I am having to spend every day going, if you're here for Cinti, here's where you go. If you're here for me, here's where you go. No, jumping the line will get to you when you get to you, and you do not hurry us up. Or there will be a very, very special place that Aresh Gagal will keep for you.
Nice.
Until you are ready to be moved to the appropriate location, which is usually enough to get them to shut the fuck up.
So you remember when we were at Convocation and we met Mortellus, and I went to her class. We've gone to her class, or their class, and we talked to them several times. They have a great term that I'd never heard before I read their book. The Bones Fall in a Spiral. If you have not read it, it's a great book about necromancy. For our viewers out there, and the author is Mortellus, Mortellus. You can find them on Instagram as Crow and the Dead. Their thing is, it's UPG, Unverified Personal Gnosis.
Yeah, it's Unverified Personal Gnosis. This was something we used a lot in the 90s and early aughts.
Yeah. So I'd never heard that term before, but they use that term, and it's a great term, because just because I've experienced something doesn't mean that that's your experience, and vice versa. You and I talk to very different things sometimes, and we have oftentimes been the interpreter or the translator for the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
so
again,
you're not experiencing something doesn't mean that it's not actually happening.
And so one of the class, like, you were there for the class that I taught at Convocation, and that was the spirit identification in the field. Yes. And it's a very popular class because I talk people through the ways they may perceive things. Mm-hmm. And I think that the majority of the class experienced something, but at least one person approached me saying, I didn't experience anything. And there's a lot of reasons that might be the case. Some people genetically are not supposed to, and for whatever reason. There may be a reason that you're blocked. There may be an ancestral reason that you're blocked. Mm-hmm. You might not be blocked. That might be just how you are supposed to experience the world.
Do you know where they are?
And very, very often, it's not that they don't experience anything, it's they don't realize how to tune into their own sensory experiences to know that they're experiencing something.
They might not recognize it either. If it's something that seems so natural to them, that's just something that they see all the time. Like, I've had, what was that movie? The Sixth Sense, where you see You see people that are there that you think the entire movie that these people are really there, but it's just one person's perception.
That was my experience as a kid. So I bawled at the end of Sixth Sense, and it wasn't because of the sad love story. It was because I knew what it was like to be that kid.
Oh yeah. Well, mine was the whole this just the realization about these whole worlds that people experience that no one else around them can see.
Mm-hmm.
My reason for asking where were they sitting was because I was very specifically trying not to see anything, not to be seen, to be completely kind of my own little island. And I just hope that they were not sitting very close to me, because I did have a couple people that were.
And I do not remember. I was so stressed out, and it was such a blur. And that sometimes your stuff does have an unusually strong impact. Like when you fortress up, you fortress up.
Yeah, I was definitely trying to be a little hidden blot in the room.
Yeah, for me, things find me. I've learned to filter them for a while there, because I was so excited when Water Slide Tattoo Paper came out. So for a while there, because I think I kind of have Buffy syndrome in that sometimes I wish I were just a normal girl.
Yeah.
Or at least just could take a vacation from my own existence. And so for a while there, I found this seal that can block psychic perception.
Wow.
And so I didn't want to get a permanent tattoo because sometimes you need it. And so the problem with it is, of course, everything. And again, this isn't like magic always has a price, but it's more like physics always has a reaction. Like it's not necessarily a price per se, but there was a reaction. And the reaction was that other people around me would start experiencing dreams and communications trying to get to me. And I also started having other people's dreams.
Oh, that's an interesting side effect.
I had that side effect one other time. I was having an emotional affair with a young Muslim man, and I'd mentioned how I was having a lot of nightmares and problems because there was this Malaysian prick that was coming at me magically because he thought I couldn't. I mean, it was really advanced at the time. But he knew about the Malaysian prick and told his mom about it, and she started praying from the Hadiths, which is a different holy book than the Quran, except that it's technically not a holy book, and it's kind of heretical to use it, but a lot of people do because it's their folk magic. And so she started praying for me not to have nightmares, and again, I started having other people's dreams, which taught me a lot more about the horny guys that lived under me in the fourplex I was in than I ever wanted to know. Oof.
Sorry. I do find that exceptionally amusing, though.
Oh, the stuff that I can't unsee because it's permanently burned in my brain because it started there.
Awesome. Yeah. I do remember the one time, and I talked about this in one of my podcast episodes, the one time that I asked to be more aware. I asked, and I learned, be careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for, because when I asked to be more aware, it was when the veil was thin. And one night driving home on the foggy streets of Daly City, going home, I was almost in a car accident because I slammed on my brakes for the man that was in the middle of the road that wasn't really there.
Oh, that happens to me. Starting next week, I probably won't be able to drive at night because not only do they do that, since I have to go to Arts and Crafton is a rural area, and there are spirits that like hang out in the fields and in where the crops are that think it is hilarious to come running out, bounce off my bumper or make it look like they're bouncing off my bumper, and then tumbling into the other side of the street. And then of course I'll go and I'll have to stop and I'll look and there's no one there, and they'll look up and see the spirit laughing, and I'm just like, you're a prick. Like I am really tempted to hang. I am tempted to hang a bottle with a magnet in my car, so they all get stuck riding with me. And until sound is done, I will pick it up when I'm feeling spiteful, going "Earthquake, motherfucker!" So I don't have to keep dealing with that.
Either that, or too bad you couldn't powder coat your front bumper with salt.
I think that would ruin my car. And rust is especially deathful in winter climates.
No, it's a powder coating.
Oh,
salt's in the powder coating.
Maybe.
I mean, it's probably an expensive process.
Everything with a car is an expensive process.
Idea.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, I can't imagine people. Well, I mean, no, that's not true. I can imagine that people would not think that the veil exists. Though from
So
our point of view, obviously that's completely ridiculous.
I've talked about, I've noticed it is different in different places around the world. So Minnesota, like starting around now, the veil gets thin, but something Cincy pointed out to me, because I was noticing in Michigan, is there's more than one veil. So the veil between the mortal world and the Fae will get thin after the veil between the world of death will get thin. And then there's a couple others that have nothing to do with humans, and I don't know what's going on. I just know I'm seeing things I do not understand.
Well, see, I feel the veil. I personally feel the veil between the Fae and the mortal world more in the spring when the veil gets thin.
There is stuff that goes on around Beltane, and I'm surprised we don't talk about it more.
Yeah, that's when the veil is thin again, because you have to remember on the other side of the world, it's Samhain.
Yeah.
So that veil doesn't only exist in the northern or southern hemisphere. So it's still getting thin.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wonder if the gateway to the netherworld is now in the southern hemisphere, and we're, I mean, I don't doubt that they're polar opposites, but
I think it would make sense that it would have something to do with like the equator line, because what I noticed in California, like I do think there is like an actual like cosmic tilt of the earth thing happening that's causing it.
Yeah.
When it's in California, like the veil would be up. Like it was probably if you notice, I almost never had trouble driving at night in September. Like I wouldn't start complaining about it until towards the end of October, because the veil would be up, and it would be up. And then one day, like usually about 4 or 5 days before the 31st, I would hear a crack and the veil would just be down, and it was a free for all. Like Dia de los Muertos, human bodies walking around, just going, I'm going to eat everything I can because I only got 3 days or whatever. Fairies that were obviously on rent control, just stuff, just out in the open. And then it would just.
I don't feel as many Fae in October, personally.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't feel as many in October, personally. Maybe it's because my focus is more on the ancestors. And I mean, obviously, with that mentality, the Fae should be on my radar as well. But
I think your spiritual alignment, one, is that you're a lot more tuned to the Fae, and the Fae do have different things that happen at that time.
Yeah.
And I think you're just like, for me, death and ghosts were part of my life before anything else was.
Yeah.
And I am a devotee of a death goddess, and she did pick me.
Well, apparently it's a ghost inhabiting a body, so maybe that's why I'm tuned to the dead a little more.
Either they just read as normal people to you, and you don't care as long as they pay their bill and tip right, which would be legit. Or it may be just that's you're already having your life in existence, and they're just not what's important for you.
You know what? I'm going to make a habit of touching customer, like just a non-weird, just touch of a customer that because I sometimes get customers that just sit there and they don't want anything. They just want to listen to the music, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I ever actually touch any of them. I wonder if they're real.
They're probably real, but your finger might go through them and they might be very annoyed. Or they could still be dead and be quite solid if they're doing the Dia de los Muertos thing.
I'd be like, yeah, I kind of get that a lot. That's an interesting experiment for me to do.
I mean, for a few years after my dad died, he kept finding ways to he was either inhabiting people or he was just showing up, because it was always in that last week of October. There's one time I got pulled over by a police officer who, instead of giving me a ticket, gave me advice about getting better insurance. Or the TSA officer who, instead of searching me, helped me repack my bag. It was dad things. And I could tell because he had a certain way of laughing and talking, and these people did. Yeah. And I really remember one, and little story time, I promise it's short, about the Samhain before my father died in 2009. There is this place in St. Paul, Minnesota called Como Park, and this is gorgeous indoor and outdoor conservatory and zoo. And I would go there about once a week, one, to get extra oxygen because it helped my immune system, And it was just a way of getting exercise, a way of getting creativity. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was October 26th. And I walked out the back door into, they have this Japanese Zen garden. And I was like, this seems a little odd. I had a niggling that they usually were like closed for the year by this time, but they were open. I'm like, oh, there must be a special event. And I walked down to the Zen garden. There was no one there but one volunteer who looked a lot like my mom's sister, who had passed in 1994. And she looked at me and said, well, do you have any questions? And I went, no, I really appreciate you offering. I am just here to take in the Zen before I go home. And it was getting towards sunset, and usually the zoo closed like well before sunset. And I walked and I took my time and I did my meditation, and she came back. And before I left, she said, are you sure you don't have any questions? And I just, I said, again, I thanked her, and, I wished her, happy autumn or something. And, I went home, and a few days later, I found out that my dad was getting sick.
Oh.
And looking back, I mean, I did not get along with that aunt. We had a haunting problem with her later that got very violent because she did not like me, but there is no way, like, I'm getting the shivers now. That was her.
Yeah.
Trying to prepare me for what was coming. And I looked up the park hours, and that Zen garden is closed October 1st of every year. And it is not reopened for anybody or any event.
Wow.
And that was October 26th.
Hey, weird shit happens around us, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, we've been visited by personages that are inhabiting, somebody's meat suit.
Oh yeah.
That happened to us at Pagan in that bar.
I remember that. Well, there were some things that needed to be discussed, and somebody was trying to be understood.
Yeah.
I don't know if he succeeded, but he tried.
Points for trying.
Look, he had the honor to make the effort. We'll give him that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he had a choice in the situation either. So
yeah. So if you're watching this and you are a person that does not believe in the veil, I would like to know if you also think that the sun comes up in the east, or
And I have feelings about it, but again, it's my lived experience is not matching what you're saying.
Yes.
And this is one of the tricky things, especially in the pagan world, is there are people that like the idea of a religion and like the idea of a practice, but don't believe in magic and don't believe that these things are real, that these are all metaphors. And as a spirit worker, I started in the metaphorical because I was trying to escape how real this is.
Yeah.
But like, you were with me for this part of my journey where these things were not metaphorical.
Yeah.
Like, there are some things out there that just can't be reinterpreted to your personal comfort.
Yeah.
Like the gin.
when you have that moment, like, you don't ever forget it because it changes you forever. Yeah. And I've definitely met people on the street people that have said things to me about things that have happened with just you and I present.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think you've told me about this.
It doesn't happen often.
Okay.
It doesn't happen often. I also had a person one day tell me that that they could see that there's a black figure that always follows me. And there is. And there's a reason it's there. And it's not anything malignant for me at all. But when we meet people out in the world, sometimes people say things and most people think, oh my God, they're just crazy. But if you stop and you listen, oftentimes there are messages for you in there.
Yes. I had a really weird one. I was leaving Wicked Grounds one day and walking past the alley to my car, and this is the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was wearing the hummingbird, because the hummingbird is meaningful to me because it is this little bird that can take down predators 3,000 times its size.
Uh-huh.
I love hummingbirds.
And it can eat like crazy.
Yes. And this lady walks up to me, grabs the necklace, looks at me and says, "You're sending a message." And then she looks at me, gets scared, and steps back. Like, first of all, boundaries, lady, get your hands off me.
You're so much more patient than I am. I'd have clocked that bitch. Sorry.
I'm white enough to look like I could be sued, and at the time I was married to someone who had money to be sued for.
See, I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm like, you put your hands on me. This is self-defense.
See, I have learned to channel my crazy because I have so much pent-up rage from all of the crap I get subjected to where I'd be punished for having a sane reaction. So like one guy tried chasing me 6 blocks to Kalamazoo a few weeks ago to ask me for a cigarette. You don't chase someone 6 blocks for a damn cigarette. First of all, your lungs shouldn't hold up if you're smoking. And I just turned and I just dug into that pocket of crazy and started screaming, "Get away from me!" in like this super panicked voice. And then I started half chasing him. So he started running away from me because people on the sidewalk were turning to look. And it's just, I am getting towards my 50s, and now I just have my give no shits crazy powers that I did not have yet in San Francisco. I probably would have fit in better if I'd had them already.
Maybe. I think I'm living my best get off my lawn life.
I think you are. I think I just have a much bigger lawn that other people are trying to get me to mow it, and I won't.
I just pretty much, I have a low, I probably need a vacation, but I have a low tolerance for things now.
Yeah.
Stupid doesn't really fly with me well. Not anymore.
That's been happening to me. And it's also, again, the pandemic delayed everything. So I'm still kind of finding my people.
Yeah.
And my people are very unique. I don't give a shit, but I would love to get into a little bit of trouble. And it's the Midwest, so it's a lot easier to get in trouble at much less enjoyable stakes.
Well, go big or go hard. At least if you get in trouble, it was worth it. Because I'd hate to get in trouble for some little piddly shit.
I already promised the boys I wouldn't do anything to put me in jail until Ashton is graduated.
Not necessarily jail, but there's got to be something more to do than cow tipping.
You don't tip cows. Occasionally, if you do not know the difference between a bull and a cow, do not tip anything. But also, that's like a few $1,000s per cow. And I know how much you like steak, and that makes steak more expensive. So
funny.
True. For real.
And I do know the difference between a bull and a cow.
I knew a guy that didn't, and he almost died, but that was funny.
Well, he deserves what he gets.
That's what I said. He didn't like me much after that, but I don't think I wanted to be liked by him.
Yeah. So, even if you don't believe in things, I mean, let's just put it like this: you can't see air, yet you die without it.
Yeah. And just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that you haven't experienced it.
And you know what?
And the veil is very experiential.
Yeah. And guess what? Some of the things that you haven't experienced, be thankful. Be thankful. Just thank your lucky stars. Because our weird shitometer is like there's not even a cap on that thing anymore.
I don't even think that I'm trying to think of a parallel, and all that's popping into my head is not everybody wants to experience a colonoscopy. And some of the stuff gets like that if you're not careful. Or even if you are. Flared base, people. Flared base. Yeah. But
it's not all the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
That's just city spirits. City spirits are basically Marshmallow Man looking to hug you. Yeah, maybe a hostile hug, but some of them are.
I was going to say, sometimes those hugs will cut off your airway.
I mean, I'm sure there's somebody whose greatest goal in life is to basically die in melted marshmallow. Have you seen the new Ghostbuster movies where they've basically made them into stuffed little gremlins?
Oh, I love that. I thought that was the fucking best. I was like, can I just have a little army of those and send them out to people that bother me? Because I hope that their little marshmallow poops are really sticky and hard to remove.
I mean, this is what servitor making is for, right?
That could be fun. It would be funny.
It would be.
I have a weird sense of humor.
Oh, that's one of the things I enjoy most about you.
I know, but we're just lucky that I don't make the things that I think about.
Nobody has stopped me, and Cinti seems to encourage it. We did have a recent incident where apparently bay leaves can go a lot further when I am fueled by spite.
I like that.
Yes. I'm not going to admit more until certain things change.
All right. Shall we talk about golden apple goodies now?
Yes.
All
So
right.
we are going to remind folks that Nikki makes these fantastic Mabon and Samhain spell kits, and there are some really good spell kits on there right now, and you should take a look and get them for your next celebration. I did get the mini straw goat, so I'm going to be finishing up the Curse Your Ex-Boyfriend kit, or your Curse Your Ex kit. So because last solstice, we very much enjoyed me burning a straw goat as a way of sacrificing one of my exes in effigy. And it was an extremely satisfying ritual where the goat fell upside down in the flames and started doing this with its legs as it burned.
I just wish I could have been there to help set it on fire.
I'm hoping, I don't know if I took a video or not. I was just enjoying it too much to record it, I think. But
Nice.
we were there to set it on fire. And I know that they would probably rather just set the source on fire, but you can't be a good parent from jail, as my kids keep reminding me. But it's a good
maybe they were just at a bonfire and went crazy and jumped in. That's not my fault. That's just one of those random things that happens in San Francisco. I don't know.
A girl can dream, and I know, I mean, Burning Man originated there. It's not like they didn't have the idea.
Maybe he was on some weird mushrooms and thought he was the epitome of Burning Man. I don't know why that falls on me.
What happens, happens.
I'm just saying, I wasn't even there. I wasn't even in the vicinity. I was at work. We're in a room with 50 customers.
Mm-hmm. Plausible deniability is a gift.
Yes.
If I ever write if I start writing a BOS, we should probably write like the Mob Kids BOS and have things like statute of limitations, plausible deniability, covering your tracks, the art of bribery and spirit bribery.
Maybe we should not talk about this on the public forum.
Oh, you're no fun. But yeah. I know I'm giving people ideas that will basically chap us in the ass unless I do some work right after this. So I guess I have to now.
Amazing.
Yes.
So we do have spell kits. We have some Mabon and Samhain incenses. I'm going to be honest. I've had a lot going on. I don't know if I'm going to have the Mabon simmer pot done because, it's this weekend. But I will try and have a Samhain simmer pot. So we have little simmer pot jars where you get all the ingredients and instructions. You throw it in your pot and enjoy the energy.
Yes.
Yay!
Yay! Yes.
That's my promo video. Throw in the pot, enjoy the energy. You're welcome.
Yeah, and especially since it is fall and we are parents, and this is like the biggest busy season that we get.
Yeah.
Yeah, right up through Christmas. And then there's here there's snow to slow everyone down. I think in January, it's just dry January, and everyone just doesn't know why they're dragging because they haven't been drinking their fuel.
Right.
I mean, living with Urian during dry January is always interesting. I had a roommate who was partly human cartoon, and he would do a sober January before this was a thing, like a cool thing. And it rains a lot in San Francisco in January, and he really doesn't know what to do when he's not socializing. And I don't think you were there for this. I think I was there with Danielle or something. And he would come out while I was there on the couch with one of my partners, look at the window and go, "It's raining," go back into his room for 10 minutes, and then come back out and report that it was raining again.
All right. Got a good weather report going.
And then I started, and then after this was just a precursor to my life in Kalamazoo, because I have a kid that was weather obsessed.
Yeah.
Who would give you the weather report when you begged him not to.
I get it.
So I was just being prepared for parenthood with Urian.
Yeah. All right. I was working on something to post here because not only are there little goodies that we make at the shop, but there are also books that Diana has written.
Yes, they came from my own demented brain.
Yes, they are. If you look online, you can find them on Amazon. I don't know if you can find them on your website? We might have them on our website.
We do have them on our website. And
the Sabbath series number 5 and number 6, Mabon and Samhain. They are rituals, lore, and something else for the two different Sabbats.
So it's recipes, rituals, and lore
There you
for autumn equinox and Halloween.
go. Mhm.
And these are ones and they just came out with a box set for them last year.
I
And
saw
they
that.
do have them in audiobook as well.
Yes.
So they're very, very accessible. They were made with similar formulas. So each chapter is a different. The first two chapters are history and background, and then it is a series of things you can use for your Sabbath celebrations. I know that the title Mabon has become controversial for completely valid reasons. And it's an academic controversy because there is a Welsh mythological character called Mabon ap Modron. If you follow Marla Starling's work, she gives outstanding background on Mabon ap Modron, and she wants to do more. She said she wants to do more, but she is one person, and even she gets tired no matter how many cauldrons and troll dolls she collects. But it is well worth following her to get the culture of origin background.
Okay. Well, now I'm curious. What is the new preferred term?
So people still, if you're eclectic Wiccan, a lot of people still like Mabon. If people are part of different trads and trad Wicca, it's a little bit, I think it's kind of going coven by coven these days, because Mabon was a name that was created in the 70s by a man named Aidan Kelly. Before that, Wicca didn't have an 8-wheel of the year Sabbath cycle. It had 7, and it didn't really acknowledge autumn equinox because autumn equinox was associated with Harvest Home and Christian traditional festivals of the season. So if you talk about being the pagan Thanksgiving, those September autumn equinoxes gradually got moved to November.
Yeah.
And different countries have different Thanksgivings at different time. Not all countries have Thanksgivings, but there's usually some kind of harvest festival.
Yeah.
Aidan Kelly, in the interest of trying to lend, because there's a story with the Wheel of the Year, like there's a whole storyline about life and death and birth and love, and there was just this middle piece of the story missing. And I never quite agreed with his logic, and I wrote about it neutrally because it was my job to give you a workable tool and to hopefully help you find a way to connect how Mabon leads into Samhain, because it's about sacrifice and the divine king mythos. It does align with Christianity a lot because most of the harvest festivals were Christian based.
Yeah.
At that time in the Western world, obviously not in other parts of the world. And in his logic, because the story of Mabon ap Modron is really his mom's story, because he was kidnapped right after he was born, and his mother was accused of killing him, basically. And so the story is how women have no sovereignty, even when they are rulers, at least. And that's the real story that kind of got ignored, is she sacrificed herself because she was a queen of her people, and there was a justice that needed to be done, and she didn't know what happened to her kid. And it was she herself sacrificed her own justice. This is the real story that I think people ignore.
Mm-hmm.
She sacrificed justice she deserved. And eventually Mabon was restored to her in a really weird way, and I really need a scholar's interpretation on it.
Mm-hmm.
But in Mr. Kelly's mind, Mabon was the equivalent, was a Celtic Persephone.
Mm-hmm.
He would have had to, if he wanted a Persephone story, he's just not going to get that from any kind of Celtic background.
Yeah.
Persephone is Eastern European.
Yeah.
She's Greek. There's Zavana, who was the Slavic version of Persephone. I'm sure there's a few other versions, but he wanted something that was balanced out with male energy. And that kind of, the Persephone legend is a specific type of death and rebirth for women, because part of it is the metaphor for what our wombs do month to month.
Yeah.
And part of it is just coming into womanhood, is dying to your girlhood.
Yeah.
In a pretty dramatic way, in ways that have gotten commodified and controlled. And it's really a wild nature that's been shoved into a marriage format. And Persephone represents becoming a queen with that wildness, because death is inescapable.
Yeah.
And so death is one of the wildest things there are because it's so absolutely inescapable and it cannot be controlled. Mabon Modron was more about a woman who was controlled and her kid that got used as a pawn, if you really look into the mythology. And this is just my interpretation, and there will be scholars going, no, 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 especially shut up, American. Okay. Not entirely wrong, but this is how I saw it when I was reading through these myths myself for this book. It would depend on the individual coven or the specific tradition, whether it fits or how it fits. I would not be surprised, and it is none of my business, if there are those that have brought in their own legends or even gone outside of that English Saxon baseline, because it doesn't quite fit.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing my research, Persephone is listed as a Mabon goddess.
Mm-hmm. And it makes sense.
Yeah. But I focused less on deities per se when I was writing about it, and more just about like the harvest and abundance and what we're bringing into our lives and releasing at that same time.
Yeah. And for me, especially, living with Cinti, but I was already leaning, and I was already leaning this way before I had to leave California. But that animism, where it's really the relationship with the earth and the very things that are the cycles, those were becoming more and more important to me. The other part was living in California. I had to reframe my relationship to the seasons, because the seasons are experienced so completely differently than they are in the Midwest, where here we get a color show and the temperatures change significantly. And like San Francisco is this magical little pocket where there are seasons, but they are so subtle that you have to be there at least 2 years to really recognize them.
Yeah, it's all about the microclimate, right?
It's the microclimate and the waves. I always knew autumn was coming when the king wave started.
Yeah.
Because the earth was tilting, so there was just more sloshy.
Yeah, and it just, even now, even today, San Francisco is 20 degrees cooler than where I live now.
And that's not that far away.
Yeah, I live literally 20 minutes away. It's like I did lose a degree every mile. But it's also been a change, because where I live now, there aren't as many tall buildings to keep all the heat in. Like, so it's warmer at night in San Francisco than it is in San Mateo.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird it's a very weird little dynamic there. Like, it gets, during the day it's cold and it's windy, and especially where we are located, we get this crazy wind tunnel. But then I come home and it's like freezing.
So now I want to do another deep dive on skyscrapers. Like, I don't need to do more. I need any excuse, because my fascination with urbanism will never end. But there are good things and bad things about the buildings retaining heat like that, and some of that probably is contributing to climate change, but that can also be used to change it. But that is off the subject of Mabon. I'm sorry. So hi, I'm going to go do the week Zoom, because I've been surrounded by ADHD, and now it is a culture in my life.
It is okay. So for Mabon things, if you're watching or you've just come in, which you will be watching this on the replay, Mabon is basically the second harvest festival in the pagan wheel.
Yes.
Right? It's all about balance, because on the actual date of Mabon and the autumn equinox is when we have an equal day and equal night. That's basically when the owl and the wolf are both human at the same time. Oh wait, no, that was a total eclipse. A day within a night. Get it? You've never seen Lady Hawk. Okay.
I miss Lady Hawk. That was such a good movie.
There we go. It was my weird little tie into that there.
I love Lady Hawk. That was so good.
That was a good movie, but it's where we have the balance of day to night, and then after that, the nights start getting longer, and we start losing the sun. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, and 1 minute a day. 1 minute a day.
The autumn equinox, because I love it when the nights are longer. Starts getting dark at 4:30. I'm all about that. Taking the kids to school in the dark still? Yeah, that's fabulous.
I think you just don't like the day star.
Not so much.
I
Everybody's like,
mean,
let's go to Hawaii. No, there's too much sun. Let's go to Alaska during the winter.
I did go to Hawaii, but I went more during winter solstice, so the days were very evenly split, and it was so weird. Is that basically be full sun, and then just like somebody switched it off. There was no sunset to speak of during the solstice season. Like it was just gone.
Yeah,
that was trippy.
So it is. Yeah, it is definitely a time full of traditions for my family. Things that we do.
So something, if you want to get a little bit more free information from Golden Apple, we do have a blog on our website. Mm-hmm. And so we have a Deep Beginning Witchcraft series, and I've been trying to find the inspiration to do it, and it's just been not clicking. But last year we had a Witches Table series that we'll probably come back to, where it is things you can cook for the Sabbath, and different ways to celebrate it, and things that you can do. Do we have a newsletter for Golden Apple?
Not one that has been going out consistently.
Okay, I am thinking that maybe we can just start posting that and just get people in the habit. And even if we just post something where one of us is making a face and going, "Was that a magical experience for you?"
Yeah, right.
Or something.
The other thing that we have going on is in my podcast, I do have a little mini series in there called "Let's Talk About Sabbaths." I started with our last Sabbath, which is Lunasa. Talked a little bit about the correspondences, how to set up your altar, a little bit of ritual talk. And mine is, I don't go into a ritual for any of these things. I don't do that. I do give some tips, like, cleanse your space, right? Cleanse it physically, cleanse it energetically, because physically is just as important as energetically, because if you're trying to do a ritual because you feel like you need to do a ritual and you step on a Lego, it's completely going to derail you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is definitely a pagan parenting problem.
I also give some recipes on there that I later, plug for the Patreon, that I later post the recipes on our public posts for the Patreon. So that's one way you can go on our Patreon and see those, take a look at the things that maybe aren't so public. Maybe you get a free trial, see if what we have is something that you would like to support every month. But I have been doing that and posting some recipes on there. And every recipe that I post, the ingredients that go and have meanings and direct symbolism and correspondence to the Sabbath that we are talking about in that moment.
So she doesn't just post the recipe, she actually tells you why she includes the ingredient.
Yeah.
Which so many people have asked for on so many things. And I think it's been mostly to save money on printed paper, why some publishers have gotten away from doing that. And it is so important to know why you are adding the thing.
Yeah. I really try to think about, I'm not able to do it like every day when I'm working on meals for the family, but when I do the Sabbath meals, I really do try to be mindful of what I'm putting in and why I'm choosing this particular dish for this day. I'm never going to be demure, but I can oftentimes be mindful.
Fuck demure, fuck mindful. I'm too Gen X for that.
I'm not really sure where that whole thing started. All I know is I've seen it through the place.
It started on a lady's makeup TikTok. Where she's like, see how I'm dressed for work. It's very demure. It's very mindful. It's a bit cutesy.
Oh.
And
I mean, cutesy either. But mindful, I can be.
I can be very mindful, but if I'm being cutesy, you're in danger.
I have too many low-cut tops to be demure.
There is that.
But yeah, I definitely think about what I put in the food that I make for these Sabbaths. And that really is, the food's my favorite part because I like to eat. That's my favorite part.
There is no shame in enjoying food.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a hedonist. Let me tell you, we enjoy it. I think for Lunasa, there was it's like shepherd's pie, but it's a seafood pie. So it's fisherman's pie. So it's seafood with mashed potatoes. I put the whole recipe down, and including I make some substitutions based on dietary needs for my family. I list the actual recipes for them, and then I list the substitutions that I put in as well.
That is fantastic.
So that will be posted shortly after I post my podcast. I will have those up on the Patreon.
I'm excited to see it. And if you can, please subscribe. This will get us that much closer to getting that shop that Nikki can walk to.
Yay! Yes, like and subscribe. You can find us, again, the Patreon, www.patreon.com/goldenapplemetaphysical. You can also find content for What in the Mystical Hell podcast. That is my baby. If you are on TikTok, you can find the shop at Golden Apple Metaphysical. You can find the lovely Diana at SpoonCherry01.
Usually people are wrong on the internet.
Huh?
I'm usually on there because people are wrong on the internet.
And you know what? We enjoy every minute because goodness knows we've gotten a lot of content from weird shit on the internet.
That is fair.
Yep. Occasionally, when I come out of my shell and spend a couple days making some videos, you will find me on @Nikki Jobin on TikTok. We also have Cinti. Cinti was not is not feeling great, but oftentimes they will pop in on our vidcasts here. You can find Cinti at Cinti Likes Purple.
Yep, they do talk a lot about the Indigenous movement, so be prepared for that.
Yeah, and actually I found so much of that information just so informal because the Indigenous magics and energies are so not in my wheelhouse, but I had when Lauren and I had gone on a road trip with some friends, I actually very visibly saw when we were out in Sedona by one of the vortexes, that energy there and that magic there was all Indigenous magic. It was it wasn't a not Nikki friendly zone, but it was a do not use for Nikki. And literally some things happen there that were only happening for that.
There's some look that there's a lot of look that don't touch. One of the things in Michigan, and this is a crappy thing that goes back to a very specific type of warfare that led to the residential schools. A lot of people think that there are no Indigenous people in the Midwest and that the Potawatomi died out. They are still here. They even still have a reservation that they don't call a reservation. And I can always tell when they're doing something because I look up in the sky and suddenly I'm seeing nothing but buffalo clouds, all just buffaloes painted in the sky. Not my business, but have a good time.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell this story from when we went to Pagan years ago. Did I go with you to Pagan twice or once?
I don't remember. I think it was once.
Was it? I think
2017. You may have gone twice.
I went for sure in 2019 because I went right before the pandemic hit. Oh no, we were supposed to go.
We were supposed
to canceled.
That was in 2020.
2020,
It was March of 2020. It got canceled.
Yeah. So I did only go once.
So that had to have been in 2019.
Yeah. So I went, and I'm in this hotel, and I'm with and obviously though I don't necessarily present very Latin, right? My tongue is all kinds of knots because my daughter calls me a Mexican because I can't speak the language, can't eat the food. There's a lot of shit we can't eat there, but I am a person of color. Though that's not something that is, I think, forefront in my identity. In my identity, I'm just Nikki.
You're just who you are.
Background notwithstanding. But so I'm looking for Diana, and I am in a sea of whiteness. That is all I can say when I'm in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
there is just different shades of ivory. And I'm looking for Diana, and I'm texting her. I'm like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm in the People of Color suite." I'm like, "Great, that's going to be really easy to identify." Looking around, can't find it. Finally, I call Diana. I'm like, "Where the fuck are you? I cannot find you." And she's like, "I'm right behind you, in the window of this suite. That the windows are the shades are drawn so you can see in, but there's this little tiny sign that says POC. This is tiny sign." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I go in, and I'm looking around expecting to see some people that look like me. And I said, "I thought you were the People of Color suite." And Diana says, "Yeah, this is the People of Color suite." Everybody there is like, "Yeah, this is the People of Color." And I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but you're all white. And as it turned out, everyone there was some percentage of indigenous, and I did not realize that in Minneapolis, shading is shades of white is a real thing. Because to me, to my San Francisco, very versatile, very varietal, very, what's the word here that I'm looking for?
Diverse.
Thank you. Very diverse background. All I saw were a bunch of white people, and so it taught me a lesson. It taught me that, there are still very indigenous people, though to me visually, it did not match any sort of indigenous person that I had ever met prior, because on the West Coast, people are very dark. So it was definitely, huh?
It's the sun.
It's because y'all don't get any sun in Minneapolis.
We really don't. Like, the MS is sky high there because we don't get enough vitamin D.
Yeah.
For real. Like, it's a thing.
To my mind, thinking about the tribes, and I wasn't necessarily thinking that there were or weren't still indigenous people that lived there, but in my brain, I had a visual of what these people would look like. I mean, I didn't expect them to be in traditional clothing or anything like that, of what I would have thought of, right? But I just expected to see, like, the people out here have very definitive, like, facial features, like jawlines, noses, that I didn't necessarily, and maybe it was because I wasn't looking for it, but that I didn't see right away. So all the people that I know that are of indigenous descent, and it's probably because, we're the Ohlone tribe out here.
Yeah.
And my mom was actually Yuma. Yuma Indian, down in
part of the Navajo. Yeah. Part of the Navajo Nation.
But it was from down in Mexico, through my grandfather. So she had a very specific look to her as well. So for me, it was a lot of culture shock was happening for me that weekend. But I definitely did learn that there are plenty of indigenous people in Minnesota. That's what state it is, Minnesota. So many M's out there.
Right?
But so I don't know who thinks that there's not still indigenous people there. But I learned that there are quite a few. That was a room full of people.
Oh, yeah. It's also, again, a lot of people get this idea that indigenous culture is a monolith when it is hundreds, if not thousands of cultures. And there are tribes, like down towards New Orleans, I don't remember, like, I know that nation is like group of tribes, so I don't know if it's specific tribes or a nation, but there were people that were definitely indigenous to the United States that looked like they were African, like had the same features as African Americans. There were some, and again, if it gets to a colder climate, the colder the climate, the whiter the people. There were people that very much looked white.
Yeah.
And there's all this stuff about blood quantum and other things that gets a little bit ridiculous. And the casinos have made that more of an intense issue of making sure that you are of the lineage, especially if you're benefiting from the casino money.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's, again, we have been, like most of us that went through U.S. schooling, have been convinced that indigenous people are no longer here. And they've been so thoroughly erased from cultural consciousness that people are kind of shocked. Like, there's been so many times when people start going on about you shouldn't use white sage when they couldn't even, like, name the Latin name for the 3 different types of white sage out there.
Yeah.
Or start arguing about smudging. And indigenous people, depending on their culture, have different opinions about smudging.
Yeah.
And and again, you can close a practice, you cannot close a plant.
Yeah.
And anybody can develop the relationship with that plant, but it does take things that are sometimes closed indigenous knowledge.
Yeah. Well, you know my feeling about
people will go, well, that's Native American. Well, which Native American? Not all indigenous people use sage.
Yeah.
They have other relationships with other plants, depending where they are. Because sage only, like Salvia apiana, California white sage, literally only grows in a part of California and Mexico. So the people in New Mexico are probably using something like chaparral. The people in Michigan and Indiana were using an Artemisia vulgaris.
Yeah.
Artemisia. No, I've got the wrong name for it. Ludovichiana. And that was called white sage, and it smells exactly the same as California white sage and does the same thing. And they're not even the same species of plant.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not a monolith. I mean, there are parallels, but it's wildly different cultures.
Well, you'll hear me say when I talk about it, white sage specifically, I choose not to use white sage because A, it is over harvested. You see it in every woo-woo, new age shop.
Yeah. Salvia apiana is going extinct, so yeah.
But I also don't use the term smudging. I use the term smoke cleansing because smudging is a very specific practice that is not mine.
Yes.
Also, the smell of sage eventually makes me start to cough. And what does that say about me?
That you're going to wake up on the porch if you chase yourself out too much?
I do, however, use white sage. The stuff that I have, I use it in healing incense.
I will use it for the irony of Salvia apiana being over harvested is that it's one of the easiest plants out there to just grow for yourself.
Yeah.
But that requires creating a non-human centered relationship with the plant.
Yeah.
And I've always approached plants that way, and it didn't occur to me that it wouldn't occur to other people, and they would just treat it like something you grab off a shelf and just use without caring about it. And there are people out there that approach their witchcraft supplies all like that. And I'm looking at the going, well, it's no wonder you can't get your spells off the ground. You're showing no respect to anything that's supporting you.
Yeah.
And I know for a while, white sage stopped working for me because I overused it. And it said, no, you're not respecting me.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work for years. I had to get creative, and we've rebuilt that relationship, and I've learned that respect.
Yeah.
But
I use it very sparingly.
Yeah.
But I do like rub sage for things.
Oh, well, and that's Salvia officinalis. That is the turkey sage.
Yeah.
What's interesting, again, super easy to cultivate, not over harvested at all, not taking anything away from anybody. And it does the same thing as white sage.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't raise your body temperature quite as much.
Yeah. Well,
I have I did a whole series for elements on this. Like, I can geek out about sage forever.
My favorites to use for cleansing a space are either rosemary or frankincense. What the incense blend I use most frequently is a frankincense sandalwood blend.
Oof, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
So most of the time I'm asked not to smoke cleanse because my track record with fire, which is fair. I have been really liking working with clove teas.
Mm-hmm.
I like using clove for cleansing and bay leaf.
Nice.
Like my Low Spoods magic is just like writing my address of my house on the bay leaf and saying, cleanse this for me. And it works.
Right.
So we have done some pushing the envelope things with that Make-A-Wish bay leaf thing that I don't think that didn't occur to most people.
I was doing that the other day with Noel.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so stress relieving.
Except sometimes you do have to be very specific, because I asked for a specific thing to happen, and it did happen, but not when I was in the location to have it happen for.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. I was like, God bless it. Yeah. So there is it is kind of funny. And I don't know. I never thought of the indigenous nations as one thing, but maybe that is because here we have so much variety, and we do.
There's so much more diversity in the Bay Area, especially, but in all of California. So just the way you're raised and acculturated is these people are real to you. Yeah. The way I was raised in Northwest Indiana, these people were all dead in fictional stories. And oh my gosh, my ancestors that were settlers had so many problems with them.
Well, it's funny that how deep the pigmentation is just depends on where you live. In Latin cultures, and also some Asian cultures, the pigmentation of your skin tone, how dark or how light you are, is by design. Mm-hmm. The lighter your skin tone, the more affluent your family was perceived to be, because you weren't out working in the fields. So my grandmother and my grandfather was from Mexico. My grandmother was from El Salvador, and very similar climates. But my grandfather was very dark, because he was working class. My grandmother came from a very wealthy family and was very fair skinned. So she was very fair skinned and had light hair and light eyes, which also contributes to Liz's, hair and color. But when people want to point that out and they're like, you're not Latin because you're not dark, I can truly say, well, my grandmother was from El Salvador and her skin was lighter than mine.
My favorite is when I point to people, because we'll get this idea that everyone in Spain is that dark, and also people in Argentina and Colombia, and yet there's so many people that are naturally blonde that are from those places.
Yeah.
The guy, do you remember that show Psych?
Yes.
The lead actor that was the smartass detective.
Tony Shalhoub.
No, that's the guy that played Monk. Psych was a different show, but it was on the same network.
Okay.
But he played a fake psychic detective.
Okay.
Like he was conning people. The lead actor, completely white passing, was native to Mexico and was originally a telenovela actor.
Huh.
I know. And so he did, there was some information campaigns for a while on TNT where he's like, hi, I'm from Mexico. And then he'd say the whole thing in the accentless Spanish.
How funny.
And there were other people talking about here's where I'm from. We're all Americans, but this is all, it was some kind of anti-racist messaging with you don't really know what race is. Race is a construct. You can't assume where somebody's from or what their ancestry is by how they look.
And I can't wait for the day when we're so intermingled that race is just a nothing term.
Have you ever watched the movie Bulworth? Because I have thought about rewatching that and Wag the Dog just because of the current bullshit climate. There's the scene in Bulworth. So Bulworth, the plot is a senator becomes so cynical that he hires a hit on himself. And has several last few days where he just goes crazy in public because he's got nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
And there's one of the final scenes, and he's hooked up with this very attractive African-American woman and does the whole thing. And he starts going, and we just need to have everybody start fucking everybody so there's no colors left. And just, you can't tell anymore. And this whole, at the time, it was this scandalizing rant. Now it's practically some people's voicemail message for those that still use voicemail.
Would that be so bad? Then people wouldn't have some stuff to, they'd still find things to fight over because, humans.
People can disappoint me no matter the color of their skin. So,
I just think, it'd be better in a place where that's a non-issue.
Yeah. But again, I think some of this comes back to pandemic, and some of this comes back to just a certain incivility that started around 2015. And a lot of it is all of a sudden this is my group and this is how I'm separate and this is how we're different and you need to fit into this has just gotten really pronounced because people are
we don't see any of that in the pagan community.
Oh no, never, not at all. Never. Wait, are we acknowledging a real problem here?
I will say that I was on a dating website. I won't say which one, but there was a gentleman on there that was in his profile. He said, no turfs. I was like, yes, thank you for putting that out there.
And the fact that he had to.
I know, but I applaud the fact that he did.
Which is wonderful.
That you're putting out there what is not acceptable behavior. And there was no MAGA, a few other things, but the one that stuck out to me was the no turfs. And
sadly,
thank you for being that person.
It's really sad because Tinder went super ban happy because this is what happens when a dating site is run mostly by really crappy men. Mm-hmm. I got banned twice, and one of them, I was actually trying to be nice about it. It's look, I understand that Trump may be important to you, but this isn't compatible with me. Just swipe. It's not personal. Go on. Every time I put something like that up, it was banned within a day.
Wow.
For saying, hey, I'm not the person for you.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Like, what the? Like, how delicate do you have to be to even take that as a rejection?
Have you met some of the people on these websites?
Sadly, yes.
No, they're very delicate. They're very soft.
Yeah. There's a third grade teacher in my kid's school system somewhere where that's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, I don't envy you your dating options, and
I've just come to the conclusion I don't really have them right now.
I know, and
Like,
which
I
was a
have my emotional support
disappointment
Viking.
to me because I really thought there was going to be like a bunch of roughnecks out there, and
Yeah, no.
I was a little bit excited by that, and now they just really suck.
No.
You know what? Then we put a disclaimer out there. I'm sure that not all the male people in Michigan suck, just the ones that I came across.
I think that the ones that don't are in happy relationships because they're decent people. It's just the age we're at where there's just this period of suck.
Yeah.
Because it's all people that were like, oh, no, I can't do this anymore. We're putting him out on the curb because we can't send him back to his mother because his mother has learned.
I was spiraling the other day and I was like, all the men that are in my age bracket to date want to date somebody 20 years younger than me.
And well, all the men 20 years younger than me, do you want to date me? And I'm just like, no.
I know. We know how I feel about that.
No, you don't take direction and you cry when I tell you you're wrong.
See, I don't even go that far. I just kind of get the ick when I think about somebody that's the same age as my kid.
At this point, I have a kid that is 23, so it's just off the table now.
See, you get it now.
And I busted him for dating someone my age, and so did his dad. And it was just his entire logic was, well, she already has kids. She's not going to want more than this. And I'm just like, no, my dude. No, my dude. Do not be messing with this, especially when somebody has kids.
Yeah.
And it was just what the hell are you doing cougar hunting? He was laughing about it. And they're like, you think of me as your mom? Yeah. I'm that age. Oh.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So it's cute when you don't have kids, sort of. Well, it's cute when you don't have kids and you have the sense to throw them out the next morning and never speak to them again. But I did not learn that quickly.
Well, it's flattering. Nobody's going to say it's not flattering.
It is very flattering.
And more power to them. And I understand that maybe someone wanting a person that maybe their maturity level and the mental discourse that can happen, like the verbal discourse that can happen, are maybe on the same level, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
In my theory, let me live in that box.
I am not going to break that box. Whatever you need right now.
I have very, very few. What's the word? Very few. God, my brain has been Swiss cheese lately.
The options have been narrow, partly because the population in the Bay Area has been dwindling.
Oh, no, I'm not even thinking about that. I was thinking that I have very few. Facade is not the word. I have very few, when I'm deluding
illusions.
Myself.
Very few illusions.
There you go. I have very few delusions, but I'm going to live in that. That's a hill I'm going to die on today.
Okay.
Let's see. What else do we have going on? Because we're getting on 2 hours here, so we're gonna wrap up.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. I think we've kind of mostly gone over everything. I'm not gonna make any promises for the future because I've learned. But if you get a chance, please look at our social media. Nikki and I have been working really hard and making some juicy stuff for you, including a Mercury retrograde series that you can use in a practical way the next time there's Mercury retrograde, which should be coming up towards Thanksgiving.
If you look for us on Instagram, we are at Golden Apple Metaphysical. I don't have any of these ready to post up, so you're just going to have to remember at Golden Apple Metaphysical. You find Diana at Rajchel.
Mm-hmm.
I am at Magical Mom, magical with a CK.
And if you are interested in yoga, I do offer online classes at Where You're At Yoga, which there's whereyou'reatyoga.com, and there is a Facebook page for it.
Yes. Golden Apple Metaphysical. Magical Innovations and Solutions. That is us. You can find us on goldenapplemetaphysical.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can become a subscriber. We have goodies there. I also am in the process of starting an Etsy store, which I thought was kind of, extra because we have the website. But then my daughter was like, "Hey, Mom, but this is for people that are looking for witchcrafty stuff that maybe don't know your website exists."
That is fair. It is a good way of getting traffic. I will say, because I used to have a shop on Etsy and I ran a natural perfumery there. Etsy goes through cycles of weirdness around witchy stuff and will shut it down periodically.
Well, I've been smart, and I've just had incenses. I did have a couple spell kits, but they've been okay so far.
Okay.
And it just kind of runs itself, really.
Yeah.
Once I go through the trouble of putting everything on there, it runs pretty smoothly, which I'm happy about.
Okay.
But if you've been here tonight, go ahead.
I am all for you doing it. I had a really weird experience back in 2006 to 2009, but I know it's very different now.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say, anybody that came on and listened, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your evening with us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate you taking
the replay.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for stopping by. Look for us next month with another Left Unsupervised, our Samhain edition.
Mm-hmm.
It will not be on Samhain, just so you know. If we are doing Sabbath editions, very, very rarely will you see us on the Sabbath itself. The only exception maybe if we pop in for our Yule during our Yule.
We usually do a solstice show. Yeah. I don't think that we're going to be doing. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be doing visuals again because we need sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I do it, and I'm keep the fire going, but I have to keep the fire burning anyway.
Yeah, for me, it's also I don't mind going on for a little bit, but then there's some private things that happen in my family because solstices are a huge
the vigil will not be live the entire time.
Yeah.
We will pop in, say howdy, and then go about our evenings.
Probably make a few dirty Santa jokes, because why not?
Yeah. Maybe we'll burn a goat on a wicker goat on...
I could, I have the fancy new camera that I need to set up and practice on anyway.
See?
I don't do a lot of ritual these days, but when I do.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But again, thanks for watching. We have been Left Unsupervised, and I don't know that we misbehaved all that bad. Oh, wait, we have a comment. Who commented on this?
Dee Dee just gave us 2 purple hearts.
Thanks,
Hi, Dee Dee.
And then Lee Toller did send us a little heart earlier. Aww. That is my very good high school friend.
Very cool.
We've lost touch for a while, but I'm so happy that we have reconnected. Let me pop up our Golden Apple website again. Again, thank you so much for coming in. This has been Left Unsupervised, our Autumn Equinox episode. I am Nikki Jobin, and this is my lovely partner.
I'm Diana Rajchel. Mm-hmm. And we were Left Unsupervised.
Yep, we'll see you next month. Bye. Oh, sorry. I thought I hit the end thing and I didn't. That was silly of me. Bye.